so instead of just.
All right, I think we're live. Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30 p.m. I'm here to call to order this meeting of the Columbus Utility Commission meeting for November 16th, 2023. Michelle, could you please take a roll call for us?
Tome.
Here.
Rule.
Here.
Andlar.
Aye.
Beckman.
Here.
Curtis. Here. Hammer.
Here.
Finkler. Here. Everyone's here.
Thank you. This meeting has been noticed in accordance with state statutes and local ordinances. Next item then is to approve the agenda. Unless there's any deletions or alterations, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second the motion to approve the agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Agenda is approved. Up to number 5, visitors' comments and utility communications. I don't see anyone present for any communications this evening, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the minutes of the October 21st Commission meeting, the outage report, and the financial reports. Are there any questions on any of the items on the consent agenda? If there are no questions, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. We'll need to take a roll call vote on this if there's no discussion on that motion. I see none.
Beckman.
Aye.
Rule.
Aye.
Curtis.
Aye.
Finkler.
Aye.
Tome.
Aye.
Andlar.
Aye.
Hammer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have no unfinished business this evening. The first item of new business is Jason Letha from Ruckert & Milky will be presenting the 2024 utility projects update discussion. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, everyone. It's good to be here. It's good to see you all. So what we wanted to do tonight was just come before everybody and kind of give an update. There's kind of some activity that's going to be going on here with some different projects that affect the Utility Commission. So we just kind of wanted to kind of foreshadow a little bit of this. There's probably some contracts for engineering coming. There's probably some projects going out to bid. So we'll be bringing recommendations for approvals coming. And so we kind of thought, since there's a bunch of stuff going on, it's the end of the year, we're kind of through budgets, everybody's kind of taking a breath. It'd be nice just to kind of remind everybody about what's kind of on the docket. And some of this you already know. But we just kind of wanted to put this together as kind of a little summary, as kind of a look ahead. So certainly ask questions as we go. I'm not going to read from the memo. Take it that you've all had time to kind of go through here, but I'll just summarize a couple things to note as we move forward. So from the memo, number 1 would be the project for the wastewater treatment plant, which is the Clare Fire Deck repair. And those of you who recall, we bid that project out in June of last year and got very little interest from contractors. One contractor to note, that was the same contractor that actually had given us some estimations of cost, and they came in 75% over their own estimate. So we knew that it wasn't obviously a opportune time to take advantage of doing that project, so we postponed it. We also, I believe, made some adjustments to the budgets going forward to anticipate rebidding. We're hoping we're going to get better bid prices. There was a bunch of factors that we had mentioned that kind of played into this. Some of it was just making sure that people were aware of the project that we're going to do as we push this back out to rebid. And also, getting the documents out early, right? So we kind of want to hit this bid window where we're catching contractors trying to gear up for next year's season. And so we're hopeful that last year we felt we were a little late in the year and probably didn't hit a really great window. So this year we're going to do it a little sooner. So with that being said, we just want to let everybody know that if it's in agreement with the commission here, we want to put that out at the end of the year for bid. There's a little bit of rework that we have to do on the back end. It's very little. We just have to update some dates, get some new ads posted out there to the newspapers. We have to get everything reloaded up into the bid document, online bid document tool. So what I kind of put in here was we just would anticipate maybe in December coming back with a minor task order for Ruckert Milky to kind of update, refresh those documents, get them all back together in order, and get them back out on the street. So Two things, I guess, to note: if you're comfortable going back out to rebid, which we had planned and discussed, we're willing to do that. And then just note there's a little rework on that. I don't have a number in front of me, but it's a few $1,000s or something for Rupert Milky to kind of refresh the docs and get them pushed back out and get the ads updated and things like that. So, any questions on the clarifier deck? Awesome. All right. The second one here is the wastewater treatment plant sludge drying project update. So those of you who know that there was a study completed in the spring of '23. That study had looked at various new technologies. There was an old study that was done over 10 years ago that had recommended kind of doing status quo and contracting out for sludge storage. Again, just as a reminder, our sludge is very liquidy, very low solids content, so we can't stack it and store it very high, so we don't meet that minimum 180-day requirement the DNR tells us we have to have. They haven't mandated us to do that yet, but we know from conversations we have to do something, or otherwise they will be telling us that we have to. The new study had looked at a bunch of different technologies. Some of the new technologies out are very efficient at drying the sludge, and we can get that sludge at a much lower moisture content, much higher solids content, to the point where we even believe we can get a Class A sludge, which does require a minimum of 90% solids. We did have a pilot study at the plant done this year where I think some of you might have been down there, attended that. That project was, in essence, one where we brought in the equipment that we are looking at, had them run some tests, and we found that the sludge was, as expected, much drier. We didn't determine that we could produce the Class A sludge from that pilot study, but we do know that there's some more optimization that we can do. There's some longer drying time, there's some temperature probes, there's some other things that we would be including in the new project as we go forward to ensure that we could do that. The other piece that's exciting is that we obviously, as we embark on this project, we have to get DNR approval with our plan. And I hold in my hand, as of November 16th, today, the DNR has approved our plan. So the DNR is on board with what we've provided. They've had some questions back and forth with us that we've been able to answer. They've had some questions with the manufacturer that the manufacturer's been able to answer. And so they're comfortable with the plan that we have going forward for this application. So with that being said, I know we had been in here, I think it was in May when the sludge study had came out and presented that. It seemed like there was certainly consensus within the community and within the commission and the council that we'd like to see this move forward and kind of rectify this ongoing sludge issue that's been there for a long time. The pilot study was successful. The DNR has approved the project, and so we're kind of getting ready to get going. So we would envision that from a schedule standpoint, we would be ready to have this operational by 2025. So we would basically be constructing it. It's a major project. So it would start early 25 likely and run throughout the year. And we would look at starting design coming up late in 23. So again, our intent here was to bring a task order before the commission and the city for consideration to get the design started now that we've kind of cleared all the hurdles and, we have kind of the approvals and everything set for us. So just kind of working off of or springboarding off of the study, the pilot project, and now the final piece is the approval as of today. So it was ironic. I was going to come before you and tell you I would anticipate the approval coming, and yet here today it came. So we were excited to see that come through. So that's the sludge project. Any questions on kind of what the plan is? Oh, the other last thing in the memo I didn't cover. Because we anticipated this project moving forward, we did apply for an ITA and PERF for the Clean Water Fund loan for low interest rate loans for this project. It doesn't mean we have to use them, but we applied for them to hopefully get recognized as a legitimate or viable project to have that option for funding when we get to that point. So those were due in October, so we had gone ahead and worked with staff to compile that and get it submitted to kind of at least get that piece of it in our minds, that we have that financial component going or talking about how we're going to do that. So, anything on sludge?
When do you expect to hear on that funding, whether it is approved or not approved?
The ITA and PERF?
Yes.
So they will rank us on a list, and then we will get determined if we're going to be funded for low-interest loans. There are some opportunities where there are principal forgiveness in the Clean Water Fund Loan Program. I don't know that this project qualifies. I can go back and check, but in the past, there's been more principal forgiveness depending on the funding cycles. I don't know when they make those announcements for the funding. I want to say that that would be coming up probably after the first of the year. I'm guessing that, we'll probably be in spring when we find out if, we're on the list for the funding. We will be designing the project in '23. We'll get, once it's designed, we have to submit it to the DNR for final approval of the design plans. That would happen next fall. We would bid it probably a year from now. So we really wouldn't have to know the funding mechanism, I think, until later on next year for sure. And by then, we would have notification if we were ranked high enough on the ITA and PERF to qualify. And if we didn't, we would even have an opportunity to apply next year again in October for the next IPT PERF cycle. But we just kind of wanted to get us on the list. A lot of times, if you're on the list, all you have to do is refresh it, and it's good to kind of get on there and stay on there if you have a big project coming up. So,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions on that one? Fantastic. Easy crowd tonight. Water quality trading. So this is for the wastewater plant as well. Those of you who are familiar with it, in order to meet our phosphorus limits, we entered into a water quality trading program a few years ago with the DNR to allow us to work with the rural community, the agricultural community, to secure projects that would lower the phosphorus loading into the waterway where we discharge. And so that was a program that was set up a few years ago. It was approved by the county. It was approved by the state. And, basically, essentially what it does is we do have to pay so much per year for an annual payment to these farmers. And then there's projects that they implement. So buffer strips, cover crops, things that keep the phosphorus loading on the land and not run off into the waterways. To upgrade the equipment at the plant, we estimated it was millions and millions of dollars to do that, to get the same desired level that our permit required. This was obviously I guess it was a better way, a cheaper way, an alternative way to do that. As we kind of roll into this every year, we've had to administer the program, and that basically involves 3 landowners. We work with the county, Rupert Milky does, to ensure that the projects get implemented every year. The county approves them, they inspect them, they sign off on it. That's what the DNR needs to go ahead and make sure we're in compliance with our permit. At the end of the year, there's some invoicing, and then there's some annual payments that we have to do. We have 3 current landowners in the water quality trading program, 2 of which are under 10-year contracts, so they still have 7 years left. We have one that was only willing to enter into a 5-year agreement. He's got 2 years left. What I'm proposing is to obviously, bring a task order in front of you guys, again, for the administration of the program, for Rupert Milky to do for 2024. But I would also like to at least start investigating the possibility of extension of the contract with the landowner that has the 5-year contract. We still have a year and a half or 2 years on that contract, but we don't want to wait till the end and then realize he's not interested in renewing, and then we have to find another opportunity to fulfill our agreement on our wastewater permit with the DNR. So I think for 24, we'd like to bring a task order forward to, again, administer the program. And again, being that we're a few years into this, the administration has actually gotten a little easier, a little less, just because we've all been through it. We all know what to expect. We've been working with the county and the DNR now. A few years ago, everybody was just trying to figure it out a little bit. So we're obviously here tonight just to kind of talk about a little bit about the program, what we want to do, where it's at, and kind of what's in store for 24. So any questions on water quality trading? All right. I think that's it for wastewater. We'll leave wastewater and we'll move on to roads. So as part of the Capital Street program here in Columbus that was approved by the council, the project for 2024 is Richmond Street. So that would be from Charles Street to Lewis Street. There's one block in very poor condition. Of that project, we'll be doing full water main repair or replacement along with valves, hydrants, and services. We'll also be working on full sanitary sewer replacement to eliminate I&I and other issues. That will include sewer lateral replacement up to the right-of-way. Selden Street, there's a one-block section from Charles to Lewis. That includes the exact same, water and sewer and the lateral and service replacements. And then there's a project that we have on Commercial Drive. So we're going to do the section from Dick Street to Maple Street. So it's quite, kind of a long section. It's a rural section around all the industrial businesses out there. Those of you who have been out there, roads in very poor shape, bad drainage. So we're going to go in and fix a few things. We're also going to bring all the hydrants up the road grade so they're much more easily accessed. If we do have an issue out there, they're not buried in snow or the ditches. So we're going to work on making those improvements. We're going to work on cleaning out ditches, improving culverts on driveways for stormwater management. And so that's the project. There will be a public informational meeting coming up on November 30th, where I'll be presenting the project with draft plans. I'll also be going over what to expect is related to the projects and construction. We've sent letters out to all the property owners, so we look forward to having that. That we will bid right after the first of the year as well. We had very good luck with our road project last year, bidding it right after the first of the year, so I'm excited to try it again. Hopefully we get similar results. And I just wanted to note here that we're currently under task order to complete all the design work through bidding and recommendation to the city. We typically have always contracted the construction services later once we get approvals and we move the project forward. So nothing, I guess, tonight for you guys to worry about other than more of an FYI, but it does involve sewer, water, storm, and we'll be moving that forward. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed. I think we got a great project this year, and look forward to as many bids as we had last year. Any questions on the road project? All right, water plant 1. So we had a sanitary sewer survey done a couple years ago where the DNR had determined that we had a reservoir overflow not in compliance. The issue here was we had an overflow that was discharging underground and had possibility of back contamination or backflow if there would be a flooding event or some other situation that would cause like a suction or something into the tank. As required, the DNR has given us a deadline to upgrade that to a code compliant overflow. So there is some structural component to this. We've been kind of working on this with staff. We've been working on it with DNR. Essentially what we're going to do is cut a new hole in the side of the tank and patch the old hole and remove the overflows, introduce a new overflow with the discharge point that can discharge and get into the storm system. So it's not obviously going to flood. The question I think somebody asked me a while back was, well, what's the likelihood of that tank overflowing? And my understanding is it's overflowed once that somebody can remember. Pretty old tank, and that was due to a pump failure or something had occurred or a valve that didn't work correctly or something. And I don't know the backstory, but it's highly unlikely that tank would overflow, but yet, we have to have code compliance to make sure we're not contaminating the water system. So that project was designed by Rupert Milkie. It was submitted to the DNR for approval, and we've got approval back on the plans to make the corrections. Our anticipation here would be to bid that project out in the same window as everything else. We'll be looking at somewhere around the first of the year, and construction would be in early 2024. And that project, we got all the engineering budgets and everything already accounted for in the original approval. Because it's not a huge project, we put the construction cost for Rupert Milkie to oversee and administer in the original contract. So nothing to do on that one other than to be aware of at some point I'm going to be standing up in front of you probably a lot in the next month or two, talking about contracts, bids, recommendations, projects, and I just wanted to kind of come here tonight to kind of get you guys thinking about that stuff. So when you see me, hopefully it's makes sense and we can move stuff through the system to get some of your projects completed for you.
Thanks, Jason.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All All right, I guess we can move on to new business item number 2 then, which is election of Columbus Utility Commission officers. Each November, the Utility Commission meeting, the commission elects officers for the following year. So I'm not sure the process that we want to employ, just a simple nomination or a vote, or, you know,
I think, trying to recall in
It's,
the past.
one at a time.
That's why I put it in there. This is accomplished through a motion from the floor nominating a commission member to the respective positions.
Do we want to do one position at a time, I'm assuming?
That's what we did last year, so, but it's up to you.
Sure.
I think that's been the practice in the past,
Yeah.
is one position at a time. It always started off with the president.
All right.
Yep.
So I guess we can start by taking nomination or nominations for commission president. Does anybody have a nomination?
I nominate you,
What's that?
Mike. I nominate you.
Gee, thanks. Well, my wife is not watching this meeting, so I will accept the nomination.
I will second.
All right.
I'll third. Is that what you do?
You don't have to.
Or do we
Or
vote?
you could ask for nominations to be closed.
Yep, you got it. Yep,
Okay,
exactly.
You would make a motion to close nominations.
okay. I'll make a motion to close the nominations.
Get your light on, you want a second?
I'll second.
All right.
All right.
Nominations have been closed for commission president. Do we just take a
Just
a
all
vote
in
to
favor.
confirm?
Yeah.
All in favor of nominating me, the president of the utility commission, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to tell my wife about this. All right, up next then would be vice chair. Anyone want to make nominations for position of vice chair?
I would nominate Sandy for vice chair. Yeah.
Second that.
Any other nominations?
I'd move to close the nomination.
All right, nominations have been closed for the vice chair. All in favor of electing Sandy to be the vice chair for the next year, please say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Sandy.
Not sure about this. My husband might be watching.
All right, and then last, we have the clerk position. Nominations for clerk, open.
I would nominate Brooke Andler to continue on as clerk.
I'll second.
I move to close the nominations.
All right. Nominations have been closed for the position of clerk. All in favor of Brooke Andler as to serve the next year as clerks, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Brooke, and thank you.
Good, nice.
That one
Didn't know if
quick.
you didn't oppose.
No, didn't vote against himself. I guess I should have done that at least, yeah, in case my wife finds out. All right, we can move on to item number 3 then, which is the check signing alternative. This is an issue that came up about a month and a half ago in discussion between Michelle and I. Without having an official chair for the last few months, I think it's been a little more difficult to pay the bills without having an active president. So we wanted to bring that up for discussion to see if there's an alternative, if that comes up again. So as explained in the packet, it kind of outlines how that's handled in the bylaws. I tried to look at the bylaws a little bit deeper, and I don't know if this has been brought up to the city attorney or not, but when you read the bylaws under vice president, it says, "The vice president shall perform the duties of the president in the absence or incapacity of the president, and in case of the resignation or death of the president, the vice president shall perform such duties as are imposed on the president until such time as the commission shall select a new president." to me, the way I read that is that if the president can't do something, the vice president is charged to do that. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that when we do the signatories annually, we have the vice chair sign a card or whatever with the bank. So if I'm not available, that Sandy could sign in my place.
That sounds like a good
Yep.
redundant policy measure. Yeah.
Maybe that's too easy, but I would run it by the city attorney just to ask if that's, it seems like that's why you have a vice chair.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. But it's maybe just getting that extra signature on file.
Yep. I will do that. I will reach out to the attorney and then get back to you on that. And if he's okay with that, when we go to the bank to get the paperwork, that's okay to,
Anyone else have any other ideas? I mean, that's, to me, seemed like it was the most simple cure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do we need to take an official action on that? I mean, I think it's in our bylaws already. I just wanted clarification from a legal expert, so.
yep, and I will get that. And I think you're absolutely correct. If not, I'll,
We'll deal
Bring
with
it
it.
back.
Yep, all right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
thank you.
Then we'll move on to number 4, which is the 2024 Columbus Utility Commission meeting dates and times. We have a list. Michelle has provided us with our calendar for the next year.
And obviously, if something were to arise, I mean, commission meetings have been moved. This is kind of a preliminary, you know, to earmark your calendars for now.
And so, yeah, it's the third Wednesday of every month except for September because of the, what happens that month again?
The WPPI annual meeting.
Yep.
So the third Thursday, except for September, would be that Wednesday of that same week.
I don't see any conflicts right now, but they come up and we can also, you know, rearrange a meeting or have a special meeting if needed, you know, when that comes up too, so.
Of course.
Go ahead.
Is time still good with everybody, or would 6 o'clock work, or is that not work for, instead of 6:30, would 6 o'clock work?
I'm all for early is better.
It should be okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 6 o'clock could work for me. Yeah.
I mean, if anything would ever arise up, you know, you can, as long as it's posted in the,
Absolutely.
on the agenda, you know, of the open meeting, if you would have to change the time for some reason.
Yeah, if we
but-
post it for 6 o'clock,
But-
we can still meet at 6:30 legally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you want me to change that
Okay.
to 6 o'clock? Okay. And then we'll need a motion.
Yeah, why don't we do that, formalize that? Someone wants to make a motion to change the calendar dates to 6 PM instead of 6:30 PM.
I'd make a motion to change the start time of the 2024 Utility Commission meetings to 6 PM instead of 6:30 PM, and to approve the dates presented. Thank you.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the calendar dates for 2024 with the change of 6:30 to 6 PM instead. Any discussion on the motion?
That's just starting January.
Correct. Yep, starting in January. Thanks for pointing that out. All right, if there's no discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. On to number 5 then. If you need me to slow down, Michelle, sometimes I forget about the fact that you have to write that down. Yeah.
But I can watch tomorrow if I need to review. But, no, thank you.
Number 5 then is review of job description for utility director. There's a brief outline in the packet here. Joe, you can probably add to this too as well as far as your discussion with Lisa, if you want to.
Well, with discussion with Lisa, Lisa had met with Nick before he had, well, he was still here, and they just felt, at the time, with all the needs of both, that it was too much for one director for everything. So the recommendation was they'll worry on a city council level, they'll worry about a street superintendent DPW director, however, I can't remember what we had all discussed at that. But one position, for them, and then just utility concentrating on just the utility itself. And that would have been her recommendation, bringing that to the table, so. And just after talking with both her and Nick, just because of how much was needed on the DPW level, that this is the route that we go, two separate. So we go back to a utility director, so.
So if I remember right, when we went to combining, there was a salary implication because of the added duties. What are we doing to the salary for utility director then?
And that's why I included, because Lisa had given me both so before it was combined, this was the approved utility director's position that's included in your packet. That was, I want to say January or February when that. Yeah, it was early this year. But this was the approved job description, so. And I think the salary was listed on there, but
Yeah.
again, that would be a range up to the commission.
So this is the same job description that we used earlier in 2023
Correct.
when we were, okay, thank
Before
you.
they were combined, right?
Yep.
When you advertised just for a utility director.
it.
Yep,
Thank
this
you.
was the one.
One thing I wanted to bring up, I looked in the bylaws again, and I didn't look at the actual ordinance that created the commission, but I do feel like, yeah, the skill base and the ask for a position like this is way more than I think than we can expect out of any, candidate. If you look at page number 5, right in the middle, it says, "All property owned by any of the utilities shall be vested in the Columbus Utility Commission. The commission shall protect all property under its charge and management from all unnecessary damage or loss, keep the water, sewer, stormwater, electric, and communication systems and appliances in good repair. Procure at the expense of the city all materials necessary to operate the water, sewer, stormwater, electric, and communication systems." I think anybody who's really looking for a job, if they want to dig into the details of this, it says they're in charge of stormwater, essentially. And the stormwater utility, I believe the city tried to create that utility, but it's not funded yet. And as a commission, we haven't really been having much discussion about stormwater. Not saying that that couldn't change in the future if there was a referendum or there was some funding, but we're still not reviewing what the city's doing for stormwater. That kind of gets enveloped into what Jason's doing for city projects because he's including that stuff, but we didn't approve a budget for stormwater this year on this
No,
commission.
because do you remember what I shared with you when you asked me that? Back in, was it February, the city took back the control of the stormwater.
When?
I think, in February.
Through-
Until such time as there is a referendum. for funding.
Yes. So it's not under the utilities
How was
anymore.
that done, though? Did they amend the ordinance that created the commission?
It's a resolution that is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Let
good
me
to
see if
know.
I still have it, because I know Sandy and I talked about it, because she had a question, and I sent it to her. I don't have it with me at all. Oh, yeah, I do. I
Wow.
do.
I'm impressed you found that in all of that.
So, well, I have the minutes, I should say. I don't have the.
I don't have the resolution. But it was in February of 23.
Yeah, February of '23, because it was. Powers of the utility, it talks about the ordinance. But I think I sent you the recommendation, or you said it was a resolution. So I can email that out to you. I thought I had it attached, but I don't. And in the minutes, it just says consider to take action to suspend the rules. concerning the powers of the utility commission, and that's where it fell under. That it's not detailed in the minutes, so I'd have to send you the resolution. So I can do that so you can see that, but that's when they took back because it was getting confusing where the stormwater is still funded by the general fund and then, you know.
Correct.
Okay, so.
But I also see the language of "and communications systems." What is that?
We have an actual telecommunications license. We've never, it's created and
Is that a
we
CLEC?
yes, we file it with the Public Service Commission every year, but we have no revenue or expenses in that. It was to just give us the option if it ever came to that. Because at the time, I know some utilities did branch out in, you know, fiber optics and internet and telephone, stuff like that. But, so we have a license, but we haven't done business.
We're kind of grandfathered in, so we have the ability to use that CLEC status. Okay,
Correct.
that makes sense. When I read this, though, that doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense to me. Because the communication system could be, you know, the cable commission or social media or whatever, and I think
Yeah.
maybe cleaning up some of that terminology before we put this position out there might be helpful, because I think if a candidate's really gonna read the job description and dig into any of this stuff, they may get a little skittish seeing that they're gonna be in charge of, you know, 5 different departments when they're in fact just in charge of, you know, electric, water, and sewer for the most part. So I don't know how formal we would need to get there, Joe. Maybe, you know, I don't know if the city council has talked about this or if they're gonna have to reapprove the job description to make sure that we don't have any of the stormwater language or communications system, I guess, is, you know, on paper and an ordinance that we have some control over, you know, the fact that we could utilize a CLEC license. But I don't want to have that terminology there to scare away any applicants.
So
either,
are you looking at both the job description and the
I
bylaws?
feel like if we're gonna have a job description, it should comport with at least the ordinance or the documents that have created the position itself, because, you know, it can go both ways. If you hire a great candidate and then all of a sudden, you know, 6 months later or a year later, there's a stormwater referendum that passes in the city, you know, that's gonna change things. And I think we gotta kind of pick one path now and stick with it for a while and kind of let the position grow or the commission grow as well. Along with that, that's just my thought process anyway.
And if I recall, Joe, did the commission did the job description, approved the job description for utility director?
Correct.
So they would be the ones to change it.
So it doesn't need to be approved by the city council after us?
Probably, yeah, it would probably have to be ratified by them.
I would
I know
think,
Lisa had brought it up at last meeting, but knowing that the commission here would have to approve before forwarding it to the council to ratify, so.
Okay. So I guess we would be making a recommendation to the council on any changes on the job description before they would
Right.
finalize it, okay. Well, I was focused on the bylaws end of it more than looking at the actual job description, so I don't know if there are any, if there is any language in there that would envelope the communications or stormwater. And if that's been removed, at least we can,
Yeah, because right now, the only, it says in here to oversee the day-to-day operations of the electric, water, and wastewater
okay.
within the job description itself.
Okay.
So,
So this is signed at the time an individual accepts the position? Or is this how it's going to be posted? Because I think it's kind of confusing at the end to say that I acknowledge that I have read the job description for my employment, and then it has
that
employee
this
name.
is, This is just the job description, this is not the advertisement.
Oh, okay, okay,
The advertisement includes the majority of this, but wouldn't include that part.
okay.
This would be, like you said, if somebody was offered and accepted, this would be part of the paperwork that gets
Okay.
done
Thank
and
you.
filed.
So I guess maybe we don't need to do it right now, but maybe we should clean up the bylaws at the next meeting to remove that language from our bylaws, so it's not confusing with the job description or anything in the future. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
If we're gonna do that, would it make sense to change the alderperson's term at the same time? To coincide more with the election cycle?
I would ask the city attorney about that as well, because I don't think that the bylaws address how the mayor appoints people to this commission. The bylaws only address when we elect officers or when you appoint a citizen to this commission. But I think you can appoint an alderperson to the commission in spring. I believe I did that.
Yeah.
No, I think it changed
It
in the new
changed.
ordinance. It's
Yeah,
in
changed
the
in
actual
the
new
ordinance.
ordinance that it is.
For the commission?
Yep.
Okay, maybe we need to look at that.
So it
language.
wouldn't, change it in the bylaws, wouldn't it? It would need to be recommended to change the ordinance to the
Okay.
city council.
Okay.
You could, if it is in here, you could, I mean, yeah.
Well, it says a council member shall serve a one-year term,
Mhm.
and it's October of each year.
It's reiterating,
that on? Sorry.
the bylaws is just reiterating what the
First one.
ordinance.
Under appointment and tenure, the third paragraph.
Yeah, that is strange.
Because, I mean, after the second year, technically, if they get, or if they don't run for reelection, what happens to
Somebody
that
for
seat?
6 months.
It's
yeah.
vacant and then the mayor can appoint somebody, correct? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If it's vacant, you can appoint
Yeah.
somebody to
Yeah.
fill the rest of the
But
term.
I mean, to me,
It's a little messy here.
To me, it would make more sense to have it coincide with their term,
I agree.
so.
Right.
And that's something we can,
So maybe,
Yeah, we can work
maybe
on it, so.
looking at both the ordinance and the bylaws, because some you would have to have recommendations to the council and some things you could change on your own.
Yeah, we can change the bylaws, but I think they
Yeah.
need to be approved by the council.
So-
At the end, the last page says that, but maybe this needs to be brought up at the city council level when you have time, the committee of the whole, just to discuss those changes. Because it does make more sense to have someone serving a full year, so they get the experience. Having them here for half a year, you know, it takes a while to learn with everything else they're doing too, so. All right, I guess I better stick to the agenda item, and we can talk about a future agenda item for those other things too. So you would need an approval of the job description for the utility director this evening. Were there any
Yeah, did you?
changes or edits on the job description, the way it was submitted?
I did have one question on the bachelor degree requirement. Has that always been in there?
No, that was new with this description. There, I mean, you know, there was preferred things. This was kind of all brand new. This was not the old. So some things were added, some things were reworded or rephrased.
Okay.
So,
My only concern with that is that it might prohibit some of the people that have been working their way up through the ranks in the utility from applying.
I would agree, Sandy. I don't think I'd include that as a requirement. Just because I think I'm a believer in experience. That can have a lot of credibility applied to it.
I acknowledge that too, experience is great, but when it's such a large entity, complex entity like utility, wastewater, drinking water, I think to have that little bit extra professionalism and ability to effectively communicate in writing helps in a position like that. So I'm in favor of actually leaving the language.
Well, and to your comment, like you said, it says a bachelor's degree in the different areas or other directly relevant discipline.
That's what I was reading too. So if you don't have the degree, but you have the experience, you're still qualified. That's the way I read that as well.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Molly?
I read that as they have to have a degree, a bachelor's degree of some sort. I don't read that or other directly relevant discipline as experience. And I'm in favor of experience because I know we should not discredit folks that work their way up through the ranks. If they are a little rusty on communications, and composing an email or anything like that, there are classes that can be taken to help improve that skill set, where I don't know that a bachelor's degree should be required if they have that extensive experience.
Did
I would
Nick
agree.
have? Did Nick have a bachelor's?
I don't believe so, no.
No, you did not. But that wasn't part of the, I don't know how the municipal
and
services director job description.
Right.
Not having it in front of me, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, he had, some college education.
right, but, I mean,
Yeah.
And has the city ever been adversely affected by somebody who hasn't had the college degree? Because didn't someone say this is the first time that it's listed as a requirement? I mean, I'm all for the experience aspect of it and leave it maybe as a
I don't
preferred.
think there's really a way to know the question, Laura, for sure, but
You could put preferred.
if that's ever adversely affected the city, I think that's pretty hard to know.
Yeah.
It's more about anticipating future complications, in my estimation.
Can we make it preferred and not required? I just worry about making that pool really small. And I've heard more regrets over like my career in hiring of losing somebody because they didn't have that checkbox on a bachelor's degree than regrets of hiring somebody that has the experience and no bachelor's degree. So at least that's what I've experienced.
I kind of agree with, it would be preferred if you find that the perfect candidate with all the, checking off all of the boxes, but if you have someone with the other directly relevant disciplines or experience, maybe it's just rewording that first entry to kind of have that flexibility. Because when you're reviewing the applicants, you'll find out if they have a degree or not, but they might have 25 years experience with no college degree and be the top candidates, so.
Well, it could be as simple as adding preferred right after public administration.
Or other directly
Preferred and
Yeah.
then.
relevant
the-
discipline preferred.
Yeah.
Or moving it to a different header in this, because right now it's
You change discipline.
it's
to
under the required
experience.
knowledge, and we could just
So you
change
could change required right in the title to preferred.
to preferred.
Is that what you were
You
saying?
could change the
I
word
didn't know.
discipline to experience as well.
I think that one might be
That
easier to
might be the
understand,
most
too.
effective and efficient fix.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that, changing the word discipline, because I'm hung up on that word discipline and leaving it. And right below it says 6 years of experience. So, and a bachelor's degree is typically 4 years, so you leave quite a bit of flexibility there.
So would we be okay with having, just changing the header to preferred knowledge, skills, and abilities, and then a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university in engineering, business administration, accounting, public administration, preferred, comma, or other directly relevant experience? Does that?
Yeah, I think the header could even just be knowledge, skills, and abilities.
So take
I don't think we have to put a qualifier on it.
I agree.
Okay.
Yep.
Cutting right to it.
But still changing the word discipline to experience?
That's
I
correct.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we get
Yeah.
that flexibility we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3 edits. Take the required out of the title. Put
Yep.
preferred after administration,
Yep,
and then take out discipline and put experience.
correct. Anything else? All right. If we don't have a motion yet, if someone wants to make that.
I would make a motion to accept the utility director's job description as stated.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the job description for the utility director with the changes we have discussed here in page 2. Any discussion on the motion? If none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to reports then. Michelle?
All right, so just a few things that I jotted down. Last month, you approved the eligible tax roll lien. Happy to say that it was less than half. We ended up putting $22,000 on the tax roll. The other item administrative-wise is that we have a new metering software, mobile service order processing. So Tracy and I went to 2 different trainings on that, so that was kind of exciting. That will happen at the first of the year. We're working on entering the sewer accounts. I have a meeting with Crystal and Katie on Tuesday, the 28th, so we can map that. Nikki is putting in the employees, the vendors, the customers, so we want to get ready to go to get that transfer from sewer over to the utilities as of January 1. The electric department, as you saw, well, electric, water, they were all out today helping putting up Christmas decorations, which is always awesome. The pictures, the comments, Santa helping as well. So other than that, crews have been working on the Ford dealership, the EV charger service. They pulled in all the wire, but they have to set the transformer yet, so their EVs will be ready before the end of the year. They took care of a lot of tree trimming trees near the hospital where they were in the lines. They also have been scanning the city, and they put together a schedule to replace and repair the streetlights that are currently out, because there is a handful. They'll be starting on that schedule tomorrow. They also, if you come down to the utility shop in the back, they just put in a 45-foot pole with a nice American flag on the top. They're going to do pole top rescue. So MEUW Director of Safety Training will be at some point in the future. So, and they do have quite the realistic dummy that they use, because it scared me a few times in the shop. And they better quit doing that. Okay, so let's move on to the water department. All the seasonal water meters have been removed. I know they'll be working with DPW in the next week or so to close up all the bathrooms. We had a few repairs that needed to be done at Water Plant 2. We had a crack in the elbow of our softener, so August Winters came out last Monday and repaired that. Then we had the starter, that was on November 3rd, the starter on the well pump went out. CTW came out to evaluate the problem, and as they were repairing that, they found the bearings needed to be repaired. So Water Plant 2 was shut down until the repairs were done. So we were running strictly on Water Plant 1. CTW came out, repaired both. They did end up coming out again this Sunday because they had to fine tune it. It was running pretty high. So all that has been taken care of. You will see on next month's agenda, and we'll talk about that. There is a major roof leak in Water Plant 2, and it's running over the dehumidifier and the softener controls. And these things cannot be moved, so they have a makeshift covering right now. Jake's called 5 different vendors, 2 have come out, prices are varying. But even if we just do repairs and not replacement, something has to be done this year before winter. So, and on that note, that's all I have.
Wasn't that roof just done a couple?
No,
years
the
ago?
administrative building was done, the water plant wasn't included,
Oh.
and it wasn't leaking at the time. I know.
Yeah, the water plant itself is still the original roof, I think, from
Yes, correct.
1994. So,
Correct. The admin just got done this year.
Right, but we've done that a couple of times.
We had some patchwork done, some replacement, where water plant 2 never, from what I could find, didn't have any work done. And right, it's going on 30 years old. And we're looking at about 5,000 square feet, so it's still pretty decent size.
I did see in the utility bill the flyer for the Christmas light giveaway,
Yes.
holiday lights, in exchange for donations to the food pantry.
Yep, and that was one other thing I was gonna bring up, because that was this is the first year we did the donation for the food pantry. Previous years, we did the exchange, 2 old lights, 2 new lights. They can still recycle lights, which is great, but the overpouring of, the contributions are fantastic. I had gotten 2 large bins, and those are full, and we're already starting with boxes.
That's great.
It is. So, yeah. And then,
This time of year, those food pantries are running really low for their
Yes.
postal drives and things.
yes, they're really in need, so we are very excited that our community is really getting involved and helping out.
Good.
Thank you for bringing that up.
All right, we can move on to future agenda topics then. I don't know,
So for December, currently right now, we're gonna have the fluoridation update. Jake's gonna be here to present. I will reach out to the dental,
Columbus Family Dental.
yep, that was here that night, to let them know that, because they did want to be notified. Then I have the bylaws and ordinances from what you talked about before.
Were we not going to get some reports related to the fluoridation? Didn't we request?
That's what Jake's putting together to give you an update in December.
Okay, so we'll get that update at the same time we have the
You'll get it in
discussion
your
about it?
packet.
Oh, okay,
You'll get it
okay,
in
yeah,
in your
okay.
packet that Friday before, so you have some time to look at it, and if you have questions, to reach out to Jake. Because Jake didn't have data from that far back, so he was gathering what he had,
Okay, and is this Jake's request, or why was he responsible for bringing it to the commission?
the commission asked for more data. When it
Right, but I'm going back to the original request? Like, what prompted the original request?
Yep, Jake was the one that requested the commission to
Okay, he did.
consider
Okay,
to stop the fluoridation. So that's where the original request came from. And there was a couple different reasons why. There was natural
Yeah.
fluoride in the water,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was the
yeah, I
chemical
remember all
room, there
that.
was the chemical.
yeah.
Yeah,
I remember all that. I
yeah, the
just
pump
thought,
couldn't read the lower levels. So there was just a multiple of things that it was kind of a request, like, here's what I have, what do you think? And then that's when the commission asked for, could we get some more data?
Right.
And then with the outpouring correspondence, but Jake's putting together that data for you. So,
okay, thanks. Yeah, no, I remember all
Does that
that, but I
help
just,
now?
no,
Did
it
that
does. I
help?
remember. Yeah. I just didn't know we were gonna get the info later, and then I thought, well, what's really promoting this request? Like, what's the real impetus of it.
Okay.
I'd
I think
try to
the.
get my arms around
Yeah,
that.
I think the main thing is, natural fluoridation has been in the water, and there's other sources, toothpaste, from years ago when they first started adding fluoride to the water, toothpaste wasn't as good of a product as what it is now. And then, we're looking at, what the cost of new pumps, and then having to build a separate room strictly for fluoride. That's one thing that all of a sudden DNR decided that you need a separate room just for fluoride, so,
Okay.
because of the corrosivity of it, so.
Okay, thanks.
So I think that's kind of what was prompting, so.
Okay,
And so then for I think the other agenda item would be the
Sorry.
review or discussion of bylaws or ordinance changes to reflect the utility director's job description.
Sure, we got the bylaws and the job description for continuity.
Yeah. And then if we need to find out the formalized process, if, we're going to be making a recommendation here to the city council to approve ultimately, I think we can tweak our own bylaws and they would have to approve them, but if it's an ordinance change, that's a little bit more involved,
Yeah.
so. All right, were there any other recommendations for agenda items in December? December 21st would be our next meeting. All right, if there's no more requests for future agenda topics, I would take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to adjourn. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.